All right, so this is the Digging Deeper for Disney group. It is 8:01 on the 23rd of June, and we have the ever-loved Brian Parker with us. So, Brian, would you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, I know you're amazing at what you do. We hear about you all the time. We see you on Facebook if we're friends or in some of the other little groups with Pampered Chef. But if you would just tell us a little bit about you and your passion and get rolling, that'd be great.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you all for inviting me on the call. Thank you for that reminder, because I was actually just going to go out and get a glass of wine. I'm like, no, I need to be on this call. It's just, today is a hot, sticky day here. And it's just one of those days where you need to be outside. Well, let's see. What can I tell you? I started my Pampered Chef career back in May of 2003. Oh my God. That's a whole lot of spatulas, ladies. Yeah. When I started honestly because the last part of the conversation I had with who is now my director, who happened to actually be the consultant of the show I was hosting. And when she had explained to me, she said, from day one, I fell in love with the products. I knew nothing about Pampered Chef prior to doing a catalog show. Fell in love with the products. She said, you know what? Consultants get free products. I didn't necessarily, the money was not a driving factor for me because I had a full-time job. I was a senior vice president at a bank. Just approaching around my 18th, 19th year. Was headed, in the direction of leaving, and I was happy for that. We did the party. I got a bunch of free stuff, and at the end, when I was picking up my free stuff, I just remembered her saying, okay, I don't know if you've ever given Pampered Chef a thought, but she kind of went on to say, if you were the consultant of this show, you would have earned this much money. And I'll be totally honest with you folks, the rest of that conversation was exactly this. Wah, wah, wah. Because in my head, I was thinking, just how many hours do I have to work at my day job to make what she said I could just make doing what I just did? And the concept of what I had just done was I worked in an office building. There's four break rooms. I set up four catalogs, one in each catalog, and literally I just kind of, I don't know. I mean, they would come to me with orders, and I knew who everybody was who worked there. So after I got all these orders, I just went down and made sure I showed the catalog to the people who didn't give me an order. The catalog show was $3,700.
Holy cow! What a way to start.
I said, okay. The ironic part was that was the beginning for me when I started earning more products, and then finally I had reached a point where I couldn't deal with my corporate job anymore. It was kill or be killed, and I really was too young to go to jail. Although I've been spending a lot of time in jail lately, though, if you know what I mean. But you know what? It's all good. Free food. Don't have to worry about your laundry. It all works. Okay. But the idea behind that was I had decided when I left the corporate world I was going to give this a try in terms of seeing where this could take me. And I gave myself 6 months. But I was a slow starter, meaning I really didn't know that this was for me. So fast forward, in my first 5 years, I did this part-time. I did some corporate consulting jobs on the outside and stuff like that, but I never let Pampered Chef go for some reason. I don't know why. It just kind of was there. I think a part of it was the free products. In all honesty, part of it was the products. I loved them. Then at one point I had said, okay, nope, I'm not going to work for anybody else again. And that's just the way it is. And it was at that point that I revved up and decided I was going to do this, and I wasn't going to stop. This time I had to give myself 6 months to get back up to making some sort of a salary that was comparable to corporate. or somewhere close. And I just called everybody. And in my first full month as a consultant, I did 33 shows.
Holy cow.
All cooking.
Wow.
I just remembered on some Saturdays and Sundays doing 4 shows a day.
Wow.
Should I have had my head examined? Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was thinking it, but I wasn't going to say it out loud.
No, Paul, please. My life's an open book. You can call me whatever you want. Okay. But the idea was, the ironic part to that, and and the long story is, I'm still today, here we are, 16 years later, I'm still today reaping some of those benefits from my first year. I have hosts who still do 2 shows with me every year from that first year.
That's awesome. So what switched you around and changed you, or I'm not even sure if it changed you because I didn't know you the whole 16 years, but what helped put your emphasis on your recipes that you do? Because you see these pictures of you when you buy umpteen pounds of bacon and make all these crazy concoctions and all this stuff. So how do you use your recipes with your products to bring out what you do at your shows?
The first thing I try to encourage people to do is you don't have to have a gamut. Every season home office works very hard with coming out with new recipes. And they do a great job with that. And I know they come out with the recipes to kind of incorporate the use of the new products, and I get that. But what I usually challenge consultants to do is the first thing you want to do with recipes is, if you can master the season's best recipe collection, you're golden. That's all you need to do. There is plenty of ways to take those same recipes, flip out products, substitute ingredients, and still use the core recipe that the season's best gives you. All I basically do with all my recipes is I look at the recipe and I say, okay, it's calling for Greek yogurt. I'm not a big fan of Greek yogurt. I absolutely love mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is going in. Boom, done.
Okay.
I don't really, do I do a lot of recipes? Yes. But I can tell you, if you look at my recipes that I doctor up, all they are versions of, well, most are versions of what Pampered Chef has already given us.
What are some of your favorite ones? What are the ones that knock it straight out of the ballpark when you make them at your shows?
When I make them at my shows, I'll tell you, I still get great response from the grilled penne, the grilled chicken penne al fresco. That's still a winner. I mean, it's sad to say, and I hate to say this, I don't use my deep covered baker too much anymore. There's just too many products that we have replaced that with. I'm a rock fan, true and true. So I would say the grilled penne. Believe it or not, I'm still doing the deluxe cheeseburger salad. I'm doing that. I'm doing the pineapple upside down cake. I now take the Tuscan chicken. I do 2 versions. I do a Tuscan chicken and a Tuscan chicken pasta, which is, again, the same version that I think Friel posted all along.
I was talking about that Tuscan chicken spaghetti, you guys, that we
Correct.
have talked about over the last year, probably much.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So how do you decide which one do you use at each party? Do you let your host pick from a list? Do you have a month one that you do all month long? How do you decide that?
Absolutely not. I give the host 3 choices.
Okay.
I give the host 3 choices, and those 3 choices are based on products I want to sell. Usually I'll say we can do this, this, and this. Obviously, if it's a host that's been a repeat host over and over and over and over again, there's a little bit more flexibility there. But I'll tell you, with these days, with the way the products are designed and the way we can utilize some of the old recipes, I tell people, don't go crazy with recipes at shows, folks. They, there seems to be this kind of misconception. You know, when you start to listen to some of these people out there who are making 3 and 4 and 5 recipes, and I go back to them and I say, why? You're not a caterer. And, you know, it doesn't matter how many people you have there. The host is always going to make something anyway.
Very true.
You know?
So like you say, you have 3 for them to choose from. So like, are you focusing on the special for next month to try to get bookings, or are you focusing on things that are just big seller items that you like to sell? Like, give us an example. What are you offering this month, and what tools are you trying to sell, and why?
Okay, for June, I'm doing, you can bet one of the recipes I'm going to do would be the strawberry cheesecake in the cool insert bowl. Because I know for myself, I was around, and I think, April, you've been around for a while, right?
22 years.
Okay, so you remember the old Chilzine bowls as well.
Yeah.
I remember when they took those bowls away. I kind of loved those bowls, and I understood why they had to take them away, and I get that. But the idea was, I knew a lot of my customers wanted to see that. And I was even more overly impressed when I saw the way they redid the new pieces, you know, instead of the gel being in between the bowl. So you can definitely, it's the strawberry shortcake. And I did lots of experimenting with in the past 6 months with recipes. And I found one thing. One of the big things I found is if I brought the rock rock, I sold it. If you bring the, oh my God, I was going to say the Instapot. No.
Quick cooker.
Thank you. I'm fried today. I've been on conference calls all day long. The quick cooker. Thank you for quickly catching me. If I brought the quick cooker, I didn't sell the rock, but I struggled to sell the quick cooker. I got bookings for the quick cooker, but I didn't sell them. So I always look at that for number purposes. What am I trying to do? Do I need more bookings, or do I need more sales? What am I going to talk about? But ideally, it's tried and true. It's always going to be something in the rock. This month, I'm actually doing. I'm going back to basics. I'm doing the fast family fajitas. And I'm doing all in the quick cooker in the microwave in 10 minutes. So the rock rockin'.
You know, I have found that when I make the fajitas in that they're too runny because it holds so much more moisture in than it does in the deep cooker.
But here's what you do, and here's the secret I learned. The secret I learned is go with it. It's going to be juicy, and that juice is because of the peppers. Peppers hold a lot. I'm sorry?
You serve it with a slotted spoon so you doesn't get moisture on there.
No, I don't serve. What I basically do is I take the chicken out. I put it in there whole. Put the cover on 10 minutes, pull it out, take the chicken out. In most cases, the chicken's not completely done yet. So then I shred it or cut it, put it back in with the peppers, toss it up, put it back in for another minute or so. And when it comes out, I basically take a lot of the meat out, put it in a serving bowl, let them serve themselves. I actually purposely go ahead and add chicken stock to that, shred a few more pieces of chicken in there, and you have fajita soup.
Huh.
Nice. Okay.
So I've taken that same 10-minute dinner or 12-minute dinner, and I've given them dinner one night and dinner the next night.
So expand on that a little bit, because that was one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on, is you just made one meal into two. And,
correct.
And with your recipes, I see that you do that in multiple cases. So
I do that.
How does that appeal to your hosts?
They absolutely love it. Because here's what happens, and we know this happens a lot. Unfortunately, we would love more men to stay at the shows.
Mm-hmm.
We're like a fungus. We show up, the men disappear. Okay. And what happens is, inevitably, the host really would want some food for them when they come back.
Right.
But in reality, there's a lot of it that's picked over already. So I take that second dish, put the cover on it, or maybe put it in a bowl of her own and put a cover on it and tell her, when hubby comes home, you can just kind of take this, spoon it out, put it on some, pita pockets, or just put some rice in the microwave and serve it over rice.
Cool.
I think a lot of people talk about meal planning and not enough time. And what I'm seeing people reaching out to is looking for ideas like that, where not everybody has the time to take that Sunday and cook once and have all week's worth of food.
You're absolutely right.
I really want to do that, even myself, even if I had the time. So I would rather still, though, take, like you said, a chicken that ends up being 2 meals, or you cook a ham and you have ham one day and soup the next, or whatever. So how do you market that when you're trying for bookings at your show?
When I'm at shows, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not, virtual is a different story, but when we talk about live shows, I'm not a game person. I'm not about all the bells and the whistles and the frills. I'm about giving them as much food knowledge as I can. That's what we're there for. We're there to show them how to cook, help them how to solve problems, show them how having the right tools and creating the desire to get the right tools in their hands is going to show them and bring them the most difference in their kitchen. So I'm all about marketing myself by saying, you party with me and your friends. First of all, we're going to make at least 2 meals. One for the party, one for you. And I go on further at the shows to explain to them that it's all about your thought process. And everybody seems to be able to relate to this one statement that I make. And I'll say to them, okay, I want everyone in the crowd to answer this one question for me. That one question is, how many people during the course of a Monday through Friday are somewhere traveling and have said, what am I making for dinner tonight? And inevitably, half the crowd raises their hands. Most of these people work. Most of the people will go to work and only have to ask that question on their way home because they don't know what they're making for dinner. So that's the first question I ask. And then I start them to kind of get the thinking process changed a little bit. Excuse me. And that thinking process becomes, from now on, I want you to say this to yourself. What am I having for dinner for the next 2 nights? So every time you say to yourself, what am I making for dinner tonight? It should come out of your mouth, what am I making for dinner the next 2 nights? Because once you master that, you can actually take that same meal that you started on a Tuesday and serve for Tuesday's dinner and transform it into something so easy for Wednesday's dinner. It's not the same chicken you served on Tuesday, and it doesn't take a master's degree in culinary arts to do that.
Well, and it's the old concept they had for us, 10 years ago, that was called cook once, serve twice.
Correct.
I think if you use that terminology, that's golden, and I'm really glad you're bringing that back.
Correct. I never go in my kitchen unless I'm going to make 2 meals. I don't care what that is. That could be lunch. It could be dinner. It could be breakfast.
So give us a couple of other examples other than expanding the chicken fajitas to a second dish. Give me just 2 or 3 other examples of one of those cook once, eat twice ideas.
The perfect solution, another thing would be take the deluxe cheeseburger salad.
Hmm.
Double up the beef, and now you have taco meat.
Okay.
Because really, that's all the deluxe cheeseburger salad is hamburger. You made the bulk of it for the salad taste like a cheeseburger, so that doesn't quite taste like a taco, but you still have that that ground beef that you have to cook, and how you doctor it from there becomes something different. And for those of you, I don't know who, I mean, I'm sure April, you probably have had the deluxe cheeseburger salad, because I saw you smile when I said
I still make it too. I made it this month already once. So.
Okay, so for those of you who've had that, know that it tastes distinctively different than a taco.
Oh yeah.
So, but in reality, it has a lot of the same ingredients. Mm-hmm. You have the grilled, you have the shredded cheese, you have the beef. You can use the ketchup. I tend not to, but you can for the taco salad. It's up to you. But the idea is you've already done the bulk, and that bulk is cooking the beef.
Right.
The rest is easy.
Are you familiar with Marta Ross's 10 at a time shows?
Yes, I am.
Because I have done those before too, and I'll do the deluxe cheeseburger salad and the chicken enchiladas usually at that one to show that it's 2 things.
The problem that we have, and I don't know, I'm trying to look at faces on I don't know who else happens to be from my area, the Northeast. Probably nobody.
No, most of this group is like Arkansas and North Carolina and between.
Okay. The reason why I say that is we here struggle with doing 10 at a time, just like we struggle doing freezer meal workshops. And the reason why I say that is, although there's lots of great landscape here, beautiful old houses here, but we struggle with very small kitchens here. And although we have relatively good-sized homes, we have lots of rooms that make up those good-sized rooms, so therefore each room is very tiny. Mm-hmm. So for us to do, 10, 12, 14 people standing around doing a freezer meal workshop, you got people in the house, you got people outside in the shed, you got people in the garage. It's just not working. Yeah. So,
but with the 10 at a time, the main concept that I try to teach people is how to buy hamburger meat when it's on sale and put it all in the zipper bags with the onion and garlic already in it, and do the chicken and have it already shredded or diced and in a bag, so that you can make dinner in 15 minutes when you get home from work and do that what's for dinner kind of thing. And
one of the things I've started teaching is a mini cooking class at my shows, because you hear more and more people are saying they're gluten-free, or they have allergies, or keto, or they just have downright out picky eaters in their house. And I usually encourage people at shows to try this little experiment with their family, to help them, because we all know that if the family gets involved with cooking the meal, and that's from top to bottom, meaning dad to the youngest, more likely than not, those who are involved in cooking will eat what they make, whether they like it or not.
It's true.
Okay. In addition to that, they're more apt to become less picky eaters because they help prepare it.
Especially kids.
The idea really is, and here we average about 6 people per family. So it's mom and dad and 4 children. I don't know how what the numbers equate to where you guys are, but it's 3.675 children. Yeah, I don't know where I don't know how they do that. Okay. But maybe, but anyway, so the idea is I tell them you buy a family pack of chicken, 6 chicken breasts if you have 6 people. Okay. 5 if you have 5. You're going to take that 1 chicken breast. You're going to actually take whatever seasonings you happen to have in your cupboard. And I tend to tell them to stick to dry. No sauces. We're talking seasonings. You're going to let each member of the family go in to the, spice cabinet, pull out one spice. That person's going to put it on just one portion or one chicken breast. You ultimately will have 5 or 6 different spices or 5 or 6 different chicken breasts. Now you grill them all the same way. You cook them all the same way. However it is you're going to cook them, just fry them, saute them, bake them, grill them, whatever you're going to do, but you do them all the same way. And now you take those out, and before you actually kind of let them eat those, you actually take the chicken and you literally slice the chicken into as many pieces as there are household members. So each breast, in this case, gets cut into 5 pieces. And every person has to try one of those pieces.
Mm-hmm.
The process of that is to getting people to open their minds.
Mm-hmm.
We're all very good at saying we don't like it, but have you tried it?
Right.
So that's the concept behind that. And that's the kind of stuff that I do with them at my shows. I help them kind of expand the idea of cooking.
Great. The last question I wanted to ask you that I had on my little list, and there will be a couple more, is how are you equating some of this into virtual? Because obviously that's something that's harder. You're not showing that in person this time. Now it's on a virtual party.
I'm taking a lot of what I said to you folks,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm actually just putting it in post. Obviously not as lengthy as we just maybe did, but I would put things like you want to see try this experiment with your family.
Okay.
I'd love to hear your results. It's just kind of a way of interacting with them. And I do, whenever possible, I do go live in my virtual shows at least one day out of the week. And it doesn't have to be for a recipe. In most cases, it's not even about a recipe. It's just something I would call a fun food fact night. And it goes in the video. It goes in the shows, and then whoever sees it, sees it. Whoever doesn't. But the idea is that's the best I can do. You can't bring them you can bring them to the pond, but you can't make them drink. That's the kind of idea is they want to see it, they see it. They don't. That's entirely up to them.
What's your blend of cooking versus virtual parties now?
I'm going to be very honest with you. The past 6 months, it's been probably 80% virtual, 20% cooking show. And that's by my choice. That's not, the reason why I say that is we're in the process of getting the beginning stages done of remodeling the back of our house. So I'm very anal about strangers being in my house.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you do a lot of cooking shows at your house instead of other people's house?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I have started telling, and I told my guests just starting January, I kind of laid the cards down and said, you want a cooking show at your house, you only have until August 31st. That's
wow.
August 31st, I'm hanging up my apron in terms of going to somebody else's house.
Wow.
So the rest you'll all be having at your house at that point?
That's correct. Well, at my house, or they have an option. They can do it at a church hall. They can do it at a VFW house. They can do it wherever they want to do it. But I'm just not going to somebody's house. But I can tell you how that's going to pan out. That may pan out well till the end of the year, because Christmas time, there's lots of halls that open up, and for the holidays, lots of vendor things will open up in terms of halls that will become available. So there will be places where they can do them at churches and stuff like that. But then come January, it's going to be pretty much back at my house.
And so what's your reasoning for that?
I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired. That, in addition to the fact that if if I'm going to do a show and the let's say the guest ratio at the last minute decides to dwindle to 4 or 5 people, I've lifted not one stitch.
Mm-hmm.
I've not drove an hour and 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, after doing, you know, the idea behind that really becomes this. For me, and I did lots of research on this, the concept behind it is where I live. Now, this option may or may not work for you folks, but I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why I think it's going to work for me. Because in the grand scheme of things, when I look at where I live versus where I do shows, I don't usually travel more than an hour. Okay? And when people come to me or do it at my house, I tend to have their attention from the beginning to the end. I'm at their house, I'm chasing the host around, the guests are flying all over here. The conversations are like all over the place. And of the 10 or 12 people I've got, maybe I've got 4 people paying attention to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like the idea of not having to schlep your stuff places, you know.
Amen.
And then somebody says, "Can I see your salad and berry spinner?" And sure, here it is, you know.
Oh, I open before they come. Every one of my cabinets get opened. And I say, have a field day. Go touch, go play. But whatever you pick out of the cabinet, put in the sink.
Yeah. I would think that would be a lot of dishwashing, though.
Well, no, it's not, because in the grand realization of that is most people actually wash their hands before they do it, you know, or that concept. But let me just tell you, I tried this experiment, and I said, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try the whole gamut. Meaning, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it on a Saturday, and I'm going to overbook myself, and I'm going to see if I can get people to like this concept. And I'll tell you, immediately I started getting great response, because there's 3 major hospitals here, and a lot of these nurses have a hard time booking shows. They want to book shows, but they can't get it scheduled. So they end up doing a catalog show. And it's because they want people to come to the show who they work with in their departments. As soon as I opened my mouth and said, Gail, have you and your staff or your coworkers leave right from work and come to my house. You don't even have to go home. Scrubs and all, come on over. I did 2 shows like that for the hospital in the same day. In literally 4 hours, both shows were wrapped up and $6,000 in sales.
Wow.
Word from the wise. That sounds great.
Because they didn't have to clean. They wanted to do it. You just have a better, you're knocking out one of what could potentially be a roadblock for them.
Mm-hmm.
By saying, my house is too small. I don't know, all these other things. You know what? Come to my house. I don't care. So to answer your question, although we got off track a little bit, more of my shows have been virtual lately.
And tell us a little bit about how do you do it for a week, or what's your your success rate?
I do a 7-day show. I do a 2-day pre-party and 5-day party, which is really technically 2-day pre-party, which is Saturday and Sunday. And my party actually goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we wrap up on Friday.
So let's open it up for some questions, because I don't want to keep you all night. The whole point of this was to keep it short and not take up too much. So if anybody else has any questions, unmute yourself and ask away. Not all at once.
Don't be afraid. I don't bite.
On your virtual shows,
yeah,
you say you do a 7-day Does that just because that works what works best for you, or you know, have you found that like maybe as opposed to doing a 5-day or a 3-day show, is I guess 7 days seems like a long time for me.
Well, in reality, when we talk about 7 days, let me be a little bit more specific. It is a Saturday and Sunday, okay? But the Saturday and Sunday, all I use that for primarily is to post maybe 2 or 3 posts throughout all day Saturday and 2 or 3 posts through all throughout Sunday. And all that really is doing is getting them to the show.
Do you use a scheduler, or do you drop them yourself?
No, I do. I use Post My Party.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Hi, Janelle.
Hi. Big fan, Brian. Been following you for a while. I have a question.
Sure.
You said you live in your virtual parties every day?
No. At least once a day.
Once a day?
Once per day. No, let me restate that. At least once in a 5-day.
Okay.
So I don't go live in my pre-parties.
Okay.
But usually what I'll do is, because technically Thursday would be the end of my virtual show.
Uh-huh.
So I usually try to go live in my parties on Wednesday when I can.
Okay. And then for like an hour of a cooking?
Oh, no more than 25 or 30 minutes.
Okay.
Like I said, a lot of times it's not a whole recipe.
No.
I'm just giving them a bunch of food facts, or I'm showing them 1 or 2 products that I would like to highlight or feature.
Okay.
I'm not really, and obviously showing them some of the benefits of booking in the business.
Okay. That's what I had. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just want everybody to know Brian is a huge advocate for our Feeding America
Absolutely.
Roundup from the Heart, and he actually wrote a cookbook that he sells, and the proceeds from that go to the Rhode Island Food Bank there, which I think is really, really awesome. So I'm really honored to know you and call you my friend, because you do a lot of good work.
Absolutely. How many cookbooks have you sold now so far?
Last count 4,000.
Jeez.
Wow.
Oh.
So there you go. Just a few pennies for the food pantry. Just a few. Well, thank you very much for being on here with us tonight, Brian. I sure appreciate it. Cannot wait to hug your neck in a few weeks. So we did.
And I want you guys to all know that, just because we're on the call doesn't mean our relationship ends here. If you guys have any questions, I know I'm friends with. I have no glasses on. If you keep me looking at like this, it's because I'm trying to read your names at the bottom. I'm friends with, I think, a lot of you, if not all of you, on Facebook already. So just private message me if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to kind of reach out and give you the best advice I can. All I can tell you is this whole aspect of virtual. I'm going to be very honest with you. I absolutely hated, and I don't use that word too much. I hated the concept of virtual. I did not want to go virtual. When I tried it first time around, I was I was posting my post manually. And I can't tell you how horrible that was. It felt like such a task every day. And the way my house is laid out on the 3rd floor, you have to walk through the master bedroom to get to my office. And I can't tell you how many times I'd walk up those steps with every intention of making it through that bedroom to go into that office to make those posts and hit the bed and watch the TV. That's how much I hated virtual. When I learned how to do it through a posting service, and when I learned by opening my mind and opening my eyes and opening my ears to listening to what some of these other people who are doing it and doing it very successful, When I stopped trying to do it my way, I instantly fell in love. And to give you an example of what those numbers mean, in my first full month of doing a posting service, after listening and saying, I'm going to do exactly what they say, I did 16 shows my first month with a little over $14,000 in sales.
Wow.
And I've been maintaining since then a minimum of $7,000 to $8,000 a month.
Wow.
So listen to what other people who are doing this, who are much more advanced in this, listen to what they have to say. They know what they're doing. You know, despite some little bumps in the bumps in the road we're going through now, we'll get over that. It'll all work out. But the idea is, think about all the times when you had a kitchen show booked and at that last minute that host canceled.
Mm-hmm.
How many virtual shows have you actually had that canceled?
That's true. Even if you have a couple that completely crap out on you, you still don't.
But they never canceled.
Right.
Right. So you still had a great shot of making some money at the show.
Yeah.
So there's my tip.
So are you doing 4 a week now? About
I get greedy sometimes. I say I get greedy because, like, I look at my schedule and I look at things, and you know, our lifestyle has changed a little bit. My partner doesn't have to work weekends anymore, so I try to get as many weekends off as I can. So when I kind of see what's going on and I look at the calendar, most cases, well, let me restate it. Worst case scenario, I will do 4. Best case scenario, I'll do 7 or 8. Because if I'm going to sit down and do 4, I might as well do 8. But 4 is a minimum.
Cool. Well, you are a rock star, my friend, and I can't wait to see you in person.
Yes, next month.
Yep.
Be here soon.
A few weeks. So
I know, isn't it? It's like, where'd the year go already?
I know. All right, you guys. So thank you very much. I know we went over a little bit on time, but it was worth every moment of it listening to Brian. So thank you very much. We'll see y'all next week. Brian, thank you. And I will send
very
you
welcome
to this in case you want to share it with anybody. So
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever's left of it.
An hour.
bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
guys.
Bye.